Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very long PvP match that I've got here for you. It is going to be on Yonsu LE, featuring a couple of the North America and of course, I guess, Canada, in a way, as best representatives, especially when it comes to Protoss. We will see how they go when it comes to mid-game and late game here in this very interesting matchup. Top right-hand side as our red Protoss player here, playing for TtSEED, it is Bones. And he's got a stream over there, and you can also say hello to him on Twitter as well. Lovely young gentleman who's shown me some amazing replays. Like, I get all sorts of replays and stuff like that, but some from Bones are just really cool, just because he plays a little bit more of a passive kind of style, not necessarily sitting back like a very turtley kind of Terran or something like that, but just you know, executing attacks when needed and not necessarily going crazy with massive all-ins or anything like that, but does know PvP in particular, but like the back of his hand. So it is always good to watch Mr. Bones do his thing. Going to be scouting around his main base there, but over on the opposite side down here, a long-time veteran of the scene as well. Down here, playing for Team Evil Geniuses, it is Huck. And Huck will be, well, it'll be interesting to see how he wants to play this one out. Of course, Huck is, he's been around for a while, has won quite a few tournaments as well, you know, jumping on a DreamHack and MLG and all sorts of other things around about, you know, sort of the 2000, I want to say 2011 kind of period was, 2011, 2012 was when he was really shining, if I remember correctly. Oh, sort of late 2011, and then 2012, he's done really well. These days, of course, a lot of people sort of attribute this kind of, I don't know, this weird thing where you think that Huck's going to just 2-base every single game, and there was a small period of time where Huck was quite big on doing big 2-base attacks and really relying on his sort of, you know, in battle micro to try and keep all of his units alive and take advantage of that kind of thing. But he certainly does have some skills when it comes to mid and late game. Of course, you don't get that high in the scene without having some very impressive skills. But while we're just sort of waiting for these guys to pick up their tech, which will be coming out shortly, please do make sure you jump onto my Twitch channel as well. Doing a lot of streaming of StarCraft 2. Now that the new patch is about to be out now as well, 2.1 is literally like just about to hit as I'm casting this. But also do some natural selection too. Do you like a little bit of FPS with some alien chomping and some marine shooting? In fact, it's rather interesting how similar NS2 is to StarCraft 2. But also we've got Dota 2 there as well. So head over to twitch.tv/DuckvilleLol. And I will hopefully be able to show you some cool games. We have some fun, do some giveaways every now and then as well, and it's all in good fun. But anyway, these two players, of course, both of them do a little bit of streaming themselves. Bones has been a little bit busy lately, unfortunately, due to university, or whatever school it is. I can't remember. Sorry, Bones. And also Huck does a bit of streaming himself when he likes to get the time to be able to do it. Both these players going for, well, a little bit different in terms of the builds. We got just the one gateway, no double gateway sort of, you know, aggressive 3-stalker rushing or anything like that. Bones is going to open us up with a single, like a 1-1-1 in a way, 1 stalker, 1 sentry, and 1 zealot. And then we're going to follow that up with a Stargate as well. So he's going to have the presence to be able to set up some Phoenix, perhaps an Oracle or two. Depends how aggressive he wants to be, and given that, as I mentioned, he likes to play a little bit more sort of passive style, I would expect that it's going to be Phoenix coming out from Bones, and there it is. So it's going to be the first of, I would assume, 3, 4, maybe even 5 Phoenix coming out from Bones, as he wants to get aggressive across the map with those units, but still be available to defend himself. But Huck, we're just looking at this now. He's gone for a 1-gate expansion here, so he's going to have, you know, quite a bit to deal with if his opponent was being very aggressive with his units. But Bones playing out a nice safe style here. We see that the 3 gates just opening up right now. A Robo is also being picked up. That hallucinated Oracle would have seen everything that was going on here from Bones. So for the Protoss players, just in terms of things I want you guys to look at in particular, keep an eye on the scouting that Bones is doing. This is one of the things that I really do like to watch about Bones when he's playing, is that he's always checking what is going on. I think it's what, every I think I saw him post about it one time on TL, but every minute or every half minute, head out there, send a hallucinated phoenix or even an oracle across if you want to make your opponent be a little bit more worried about possible harassment, and just have a look at what they're up to. See how many gates there are, see how many probes are down at the natural, see what kind of tech is coming up when it comes to, you know, the robo. We can see a Twilight Council here from Huck, and, you know, just making sure that you're keeping an eye on things is extremely important. Like we can see now, he's actually going to be heading across with those Phoenix, but he's also going to be throwing out that Oracle, putting the fear in his opponent, and also still scouting at the same time. So he's going to be keeping an eye on things. Of course, Huck does have a little bit of a better economy right now. 35 workers for him. The Oracle comes in the back. Is going to look like it's going to try and get some harassment off, but Bones is actually diving inside the main base. The Phoenix in a little bit of trouble right now. There were a few Stalkers here to protect this base and the mineral line there, and Huck doesn't take too much damage. He loses four workers in total, so it slightly evens things up just a little bit. We've got Bones on 33 workers right now to the 37 of Huck, but now some additional tech is now on the way. Wasn't that being built before? I think he must have built it fearing that there was an attack coming, but decided to change his mind. But Bo's now diving inside, trying to get a shot off on the Mothership Core, but the Mothership Core was able to hide behind the cloak of that of the Photon Overcharge, throwing the energy down and just sort of making sure that it was keeping the Mothership Core alive, because it's always a very, very useful unit to have out on the map. If you don't have that Mothership Core, then you can be a lot of trouble if your opponent is going to push hard. So just looking at what these guys are going for here, we've got Bones getting a Robo Bay up and running so he can start his Colossus production. We've got his Forge also on the way. He's going to be a little bit behind because Huck has already had his Forge spinning up, Chrono boosting that, and has also got Blink Tech on the way, a few more gates. So it looks as if we may get a small amount of aggression coming out of Huck. At least he'll be looking just to try and sit back for the moment, maybe set up a pylon or two, and then look for a 2-base Blink with these 6 gates that are going to be in operation. And I mean, Blink isn't too far away. That's around about sort of 30 seconds to go until that one is finished up, as long as he throws a few chronos in. But it's decided to chrono the +1 to weapons, the observers that are coming out as well, and Bones still keeping an eye on things. There's that Phoenix we were talking about, just scouting through, says, all right, you've got some pretty high tech coming out right now, so Bones is going to have to adjust to deal with that. We will probably see, yeah, he's going to chrono boost his own Forge. There you go. Going to keep, I would say Bones is going to want to really keep chronoing that to try and catch up on the upgrades, because Huck is now going to look to push across. He's going to have Blink Stalkers. He's going to have +1 Archons there as well, not only to soak up some damage, but also to deal a lot of damage. They will cut through the Zealots if there are any on the ground, so Bones has certainly got a lot coming towards him. He's going to get rid of the destructible rocks here, just as a small precaution, but the Stalkers and the Sentries now coming up at the front door. Photon Overcharge, it will be activated on the Nexus, so Huck is forced to back out for now, but keep in mind he has these very mobile Stalkers, can jump up to the high ground, take advantage of things from here as well, so he's going to be very, Bones is going to be very, very careful here, because there could be all sorts of harassment coming out from Huck, and that is one thing we mentioned before, that Huck really does, you know, take into his stride, is being very mobile with his units. With that top 3 control, we always you know, have our little meme jokes about, but he does come across with the Stalkers, takes out a pylon or 2. Not too badly done. I mean, that's better than nothing. He's put Bones in the red, is forced to build up a couple of pylons over here. More units now warping in for Huck. I'm not sure what these Zealots are doing. They're just going to camp out for now. Like, I'm presuming that Huck knows that with the Colossus out, it's going to make things a little bit more difficult to attack in sort of a head-on fashion. So he's going to send in these Stalkers, going to push into the main base here, kill off a couple of workers, but also kill off the cannon that's defending the base, and Bones is forced to relocate some of his units just to try and cover both of these areas. We've got the high-powered units over here, the Colossi, some of the Sentries to block off this base here if he needs to. He can force field that, but then we also have the hard-hitting Immortals and a couple of Zealots to tank over here in the main base. So he's just getting prepared for attacking down here, and Huck is going to perhaps lose 1 or 2 of his Stalkers if he's not careful, but Bones was sort of on the retreat there for the moment, so the Immortals actually loses 1, will not lose the second. I don't, yeah, you're gonna have to get out of there, Huck, because there is no way that's gonna work out. But Bones is starting to expand now, feeling a little bit more comfortable. He's got a third Colossus on the way out. The Phoenix are going to come across and scout out what is going on. Behind all of this pressure that Huck's been putting on, guys, we can see that his macro is just a little bit lacking there, just putting up the Nexus, a couple of pylons, the assimilator and all of this stuff. So he's just been a little bit lax with some of that, but not to worry. He's also got charge on the way. He's been keeping the pressure on his opponent, which means that he has been able to get the expansion started. Is it just a tiny... Oh, sorry, it's actually a tiny bit later than Bones. So that sort of aggressive expanding there from Bones is going to pay off for him, as his economy will be in a little bit of a nicer position, because we've both got them on even workers at the moment, but Bones will have the third Nexus very soon. So Huck's going to, we'll see what tech path he is going to go for. It looks as if we've got that, the Immortal Archon starting to take shape here. We'll see if he continues on the same path, because, I mean, that kind of style, the Immortal Archon, is still quite a popular way to play out PvZ. Bones scouting just again, looking to see what is going on inside his opponent's side of the map. We can see the fleet beacon here. Both players, I think I saw, is there a fleet beacon for Bones too? No, not yet. Not yet, but you can assume there is going to be one as he throws down a second Stargate. Bones is a player who loves to bring out Tempest, and this is one thing I really like when it comes to watching Bones, because a lot of people these days, you know, they still will go for a Colossus-based mixture for your late-game PvP. Personally, I think it's a little bit dated these days. If you can add in a couple of Tempests, get some Storms out as well, because a lot of these units like to clump up, you can really take advantage of a person who does not have the Tempest. You can knock down the Colossi very quickly, and you know, you can get a lot of long-range damage done. But speaking of damage here, Huck coming in, doing quite a lot with those Zealots, just sort of disrupting everything in here, forcing Bones to bring some of his units back to defend the main mineral line here. The worker kill tally is not exactly massive at this point for either of these players, but I mean, things are going to only heat up further, as we can see the first of the Tempest now on the way here for Huck. These guys, of course, the big guys in the sky, they do 30 damage to ground targets, and they do 30 against air, but also 80 against massive air. Now, keep in mind, that includes carriers, it also includes the Tempest, and also a mothership, if we see that rarely used unit come about, but we'll see if that's going to come through here, because both of these players just sort of Huck's playing a little bit more aggressively, just dropping in some Zealots here, trying to harass his opponent, try and keep him at bay for the moment, because Bones is out on the map at the moment. I'm not sure what these Colossi are doing over here, perhaps looking to try and engage his opponent in the middle of the map, but the Zealots all coming through here. Huck is dropping down a few more of these units, may want to try and get that Warp Prism out of there, because the cannon may be able to target down in a second, and there it goes. It is going to target the Warp Prism down. Finally, at least for a moment, that harassment will stop, but Bones is now finally, he's a little bit more secure on his side of the map. He's got his own fleet beacon. We've got double Tempest coming out for our Protoss player here from TtSEED. And he also has air upgrades, level 1, just about done here. So that's going to add in a small factor that Huck he's not even started it, has he? No, we haven't even started +1 to air weapons here for Huck. I'm a little bit surprised about that. It looks as if there's a small difference in the play here, where Huck's just going to be adding in some of these Tempests just as a little bit of a Colossus deterrent. So what he can do is try and target down the Colossus, burn them down really quickly, then have the advantage on the ground with Immortals and the Archons, and just try and stomp through the rest of Bones' army with all of those units, which of course he will do. You know, you're not going to do too much against all of those Archons with some Zealots. So this is what he's aiming for, which is probably why we do not see the +1 to weapons. Whereas with Bones, as I said, I do know the way he plays a little bit more. He's going to look for a much more late game potential kind of situation here, researching +2 to weapons for his Tempest, and possibly you know, adding in a few Void Rays here and there, which can really help out. But I doubt we're going to see any more Colossi come out from the TtSEED player. But both these guys trying to have a little bit of a contest over the right-hand side of the map, looking to perhaps set up a base over here, but actually, no, sorry. Huck's going to be setting up the base over at the bottom right-hand side, but Bones will be aware of that, as a couple of hallucinated Phoenix were just scouting through. And the Nexus just about to go down here for Huck. He's got another Warp Prism on the way across too, so he's going to look to continue on with some of this harassment that he's been doing. And the small Zealot skirmishes just off to the side here are rather interesting, because Bones is having to set up a couple of units here to defend this position. But I mean, another large threat is going to be coming along. A couple of Archons are going to jump into this Warp Prism. we're probably going to see Huck heading towards the main base here. And he's going to unload the Archon just over here. Probably even warp in a few more Zealots as well. But a Dark Shrine on the way for Bones. He's going to be able to add in those DTs where necessary. But here comes that Prism. We'll keep an eye on what it's going to be able to do, because there isn't really too much here. Archon dropping out. Zealots are going to warp in. If Huck can clear out the defenses, get rid of these Zealots that are here, if he can maybe kill off the cannons that are there as well, then he can maybe get some damage done. There's a lot of tech available, but Bones has already got his Colossi responding, the Templar at the back shooting from long range, and he will take care of all of that. So Bones for the moment has been able to clear up the attack, but Huck has got his 4th base now just about up and running. Wow, I'm a little bit surprised that Bones has not seen that just yet, but Huck is now moving through the left side of the map now, just pushing onto the snow of the high ground here, possibly looking to threaten this base. If he can get down here quickly and take care of this, then he would be in a really nice spot. But the worry for Huck right now is if Bones is able to line himself up across this little section here, this little valley, and then just rain down fire on this position, then he's going to be in a good spot. But yeah, Bones just kind of forcing his opponent back. DTs are going to work on that Nexus. We can see some Zealots just also distracting the extra Zealots that are there, and Bones is going to target that down and kill that Nexus off very quickly. Huck looking to retreat here. He has 7 Tempests of his own. They are just slowly wandering their way down, the Immortals and the Archons in tow. Bones is now going to get rid of some of these Zealots that he has as well. Notice that his opponent does not have this 4th base over here. He's going to try and just quickly dive his way into the natural base. He may be able to get some damage done here. Maybe a probe or two in the mineral line, but a recall back from Huck. Wow, really dedicated to defending this attack, and he does kill them off. Even force fields the ramp, doesn't want anything getting inside. And Huck cleans it up with ease. Perhaps was that a little bit too much? I kind of feel like it was a little bit too much, but I don't know. Either way, perhaps he was just a little bit worried about all those guys, all those Zealots getting a lot of damage done. So just looking at the mixture of units here, which is of course a very important part of PvP. If you get very narrow-minded when it comes to the unit composition in PvP and in a lot of the Protoss matchups, you can put yourself in a very difficult position. So we've got a small fleet of Tempests out here for Bones. We've got some Archons on the ground. We've got a few Colossi still alive, 5 in total. But more importantly, we do have these Templar. And if wait, does he not have Storm? Okay, my bad. He doesn't actually have Storm. So this actually could be rather intriguing here, as the players are now battling for position, just trying to shoot over the cliff, but it looks as if Bones, with his +2 to weapons, is really kicking some butt there, forcing Huck back. I mean, Huck had he did have a small Tempest lead for a second there, but Bones now with +2 to shields, +2 to weapons on these Tempests is going to be ripping apart his opponent. Look at all the damage these do. They do 90 damage to massive targets, but now DTs have wandered their way into the natural base of Huck. There is a Tempest, a couple of Archons here to try and defend, but they will not be able to see it just yet. Where is the detection from Huck? It looks as if he does not have any observers out on... Oh, sorry, he does have some observers. Where are they, though? They're out on the field, just sort of covering ground, trying to deflect any attacks that might come through. But one thing which I would like to see here, and yeah, Huck agrees, is the old gravitic boosters and the gravitic drive, just to add on a little bit more harassment potential here. Speaking of which, Huck now just dropping into the 3rd base of Bones. This base does have a little bit of defense here. A DT and a couple of Zealots will come out. Sitting alongside the cannons, it should be more than enough to hold this back. But perhaps Bones will be looking to move through the middle. And one thing we mentioned earlier was the Mothership, which has now come out. Something you rarely ever get to see in Heart of the Swarm these days. Not to mention in PvP. It's not as common to see this kind of thing. You got to see it every now and then in Wings of Liberty, but rarely. So Huck now under a little bit of a siege there from one single Immortal. I'm a little bit surprised that Bones didn't move his Tempest across to help out, but now pushing forwards with his cloaked up units. He's just going to hold this position. What we can see here from Bones, he knows that Huck is somewhere around this area here, just waiting to come up to defend the base. So Bones is trying to just take position here, control this ridge, and keep the ability to be able to take advantage of Huck when he's pushing up this ramp here. So this is why we don't really see Bones pushing up too high on this base. He's going to unleash a couple of these Colossi. These guys, of course, do have their long range, so if there were any cannons there, they could deal with them quite easily. but now a DT and a couple of those Colossi are pushing forwards. I would like to see, yeah, great movement from Huck here. He's going to try and take out a couple of Colossi. Look at them fall. 1, 2, 3, 4, bam, and down they go. Huck still, he does have +1 on his air weapons, +1 on shields as well, but slowly but surely we can see that the upgrades here for Bones are really starting to add up here. And now as we see a revelation going down on the Mothership, the Mothership providing that cloak here, which is kind of affecting Huck just a little bit. He wasn't able to fire down on the Tempest just yet, but Bones perhaps in a little bit of trouble. He has been surrounded, but the Tempests are going to work on the Tempest of Huck and now smashing them down. Bones is going to have to fall back. He has established a small fortification over here with some cannons. Going to add in a few more units as well. There is a Colossus. There's a single Archon being morphed in on the ground, but Huck may be able to take this position back. He has so many Archons down on the ground, and I mean, those guys, while they don't do the massive sort of burst damage that the Tempests do, they will slowly be able to take them apart. Now, as you can see, Bones is just sort of, he's being extremely careful, trying to take advantage of this little ridge here as well, but he is going to fall back for a short time. Trying to replenish his forces. More Tempests on the way, a Mothership core being rebuilt. Storm has, why is Storm not done? I'm not sure what's going on with that, but Bones has not started up his Storm just yet. I normally would see that from him by now, but oh well, not to worry. We've been investing in Tempests, I suppose, which does mean that there is a lot of gas going into those Stargates. But for now, no Storm available just yet. And like the reason we're sort of thinking about Storm at this point is that this is a point when you start to max out, you start to get very clumpy with all of your units. This is of course a big talking point when it comes to StarCraft 2, is how the units like to clump up and sort of keep together. You can see it in these Tempests here. A Storm on top of the Tempest, while it won't necessarily kill them off straight away, it does that extra DPS, which can certainly turn a fight. So you've got to be, you know, you do eventually have to add in Storm in PvP. It's not like it was in Brood War, where it was really a required kind of thing, but it is definitely a helpful kind of tool to add into your Protoss versus Protoss toolbox at some point. But Bones now, of course, keeping an eye on what is going on. He's going to add in another Colossus as well. I'm a little bit surprised to see that, not a Void Ray or something like that. But he does have, of course, to deal with a large amount of Archons on the ground. Huck looking to take a 5th base across to the side. Some Zealots charging into Huck's 4th base. Going to get a little bit of work done, but Huck does have those upgrades on the ground. +3 to the ground weapons here is going to help him defend this base. Bones does have +3 himself, but also has +3 shields, which has really helped out. But as we can see, Bones eventually does fall down at that base. So these guys constantly battling for these bases here, and this game, as we can see, the mined out main base, the natural, the 3rd is starting to get low here from Bones as well. Similar situation for Huck. He's also just about to mine out his 3rd base, and with these Zealot attacks over here on the 4th, it could mean that there will be a few sort of threatening moments for Huck if he's not careful with defending this base, and he could lose some of his workers, or perhaps some of, you know, he may even lose the Nexus or something like that. But Bones just buying himself some time, getting together a little bit more of a Tempest army here. As we can see, the count going up to 10. He's got that, he's got all of those upgrades there as well. Wow, that Warp Prism, good night. Drops out an Archon, but Bones is still able to snipe it down. And Huck, realizing that his opponent is over on the other side of the map, says, let's do this. We're going to push across towards the 4th base. The Stalkers will blink up. There are a lot of cannons up at the top defending, so Huck just he wants to take out the Nexus from afar if he can, but gets the cannon first, and the main army of Bones is slowly making its way across. Some Zealots will try and soak up some of the damage. A little bit is there no energy for a recall? Okay, I'm a little bit surprised he didn't perhaps try and recall back to take advantage of that, but you know, you do always run the risk of losing some of your army before the recall, like I suppose the transfer effect wears off. So you do have to be a little bit worried about that kind of thing in PvP when you are recalling about. But Huck attacking into the top left-hand side base here. The DTs coming out to defend from Bones. They will be able to hack everything down in time. But Huck has been able to get his base operational here. The 5th base over at the left is now up and running, as opposed to as opposed to Bones, who did lose it. The Stalkers were the main aggressors there, but now, as we can see, upgrades starting to come out for Huck here. He's got Storm on the way. We've got that Warp Prism, another Warp Prism for some harassment coming about for our EG Protoss here. For Bones, I'm still Well, he's still got no Storm. I'm a little bit surprised about that, but it's getting to a point where he's going to have a really large, like a really good composition mix here. Where we've got the, we're going to be able to use some, we're going to be able to use the Tempest from long range to try and just siege down everything here. And it looks as if that is exactly what he's going to do. Take out the Nexus that's over here very quickly. Huck's army is, again, just trying to perhaps, because he's a tiny bit more mobile here, he's able to move about and perhaps try and attack this 5th base here. The Bones is looking to resecure. The Probe's also going down. Probe count, by the way, now down to the low 40s for both of these players. Huck has still kept his base across to the right-hand side operational, but is he able to get this 5th base up again, which he will need to get at some point, or perhaps he can look to take a 5th over on the right-hand side. But I mean, Bones is really starting to put together a very dangerous army here. We have 10 Tempests out, we've got 6 Archons, 26 Zealots on the ground, a few Colossi thrown in, and those High Templar are there, available for some feedbacks, but still not able to storm or anything like that. They may, I don't know, you may be able to switch them into some Archons or something like that really quickly, but as you can see, Bones now posturing here, looking to perhaps go in here and take control of this position and head up towards the 4th base of Huck. I'm sure he would be aware this is the only real base left over that Huck is going to be mining from, as the 3rd is starting to deplete. Bones' own 3rd is in a very similar position, so they both will be very careful about keeping their 4th bases operational. And Bones wants to have a quick look. What's going on here? Where is all of that army? Okay, it's over here. We're going to keep an eye on that with those Zelnaga watchtowers. Going to drop off a few of the Zealots inside the 4th base of Huck. He's going to lose a cannon, and then all of those probes that are there as well. Quickly scrambling to warp in some Zealots, and even a DT or 2 is Huck. With the army recalling from Bones into a position where he can defend his 4th base, whereas for Huck, we still have his army all the way out here. He has 17 Archons, which is certainly a lot, but you just get kind of worried about the Archons in a position like this where there's very little movement space. There's also these ridges here which can be taken advantage of, and just a little bit more worried about the composition from Huck here more than anything. Like, of course, if he can hold together his 4th and maybe get that 5th up, then he can still feel pretty secure and sticking around in this game. But I'm just a little bit more worried about this this Archon mixture. It just seems like it's a little bit too many for dealing with all those Tempests, where you can try and take advantage of all of the airspace that we've got on this map. And just speaking of which, a wonderful storm there from Huck, able to take care of quite a few of those workers there. 43 to 56, the worker kill tally. Throwing down a storm, another one there, ripping up a lot of those probes that are there. Huck is going to be forced to back out though. As we can see, the Tempest slowly going to be able to take care of a lot of those units. Wow, just decimating an Archon in a split second there. So Bones now finally picking up his Storm Tech, just about done with that. A few more Chrono Boosts and he should be good to go. And as you can see, both players have lost their 3rd bases. They're all mined out. The 4ths? Is it? Yeah, 4ths still operate. I just totally forgot how to speak them for a second. That was kind of weird. One low DT hanging out here, trying to harass everything that is over there for Huck. But now this. Whoop. Where is it going? He's going to drop off the Templar. Just make sure they have energy. Just sort of double checking there is Huck. And for Bones, we'll see if he's ready for this kind of thing. Let's go into the Bones cam to watch if he's watching this. There he goes. Gets the probes out of there, but a few of them still do die off. He's got to be worried about that kind of attack coming through. Just back on the Huck cam for a minute there as well. Just sort of maneuvering himself about, looking to try and take advantage of any sort of positional play that he can make here. But I mean, he's just going to have a difficult time because of that army of Bones. It's got a lot of long-range potential. We've got a lot of Archons now down on the ground as well. The Templar have finally got their Storm. Maybe I should ask Bones afterwards. Just did you forget it, or was it planned? Because it's kind of weird for him to forget something like that. But Bones is slowly starting to. I think this. I don't know. This is a little bit difficult to call, just purely because. This can be really positional. I'm sure a lot of the Protoss players will agree when it says, you can have these situations where you have a good army, but positioning can really count. And maybe taking advantage of that right now as sort of a clumped up area. The Templar, speaking of which, very clumped up at the back. There is a storm or 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and Bones is the weatherman. He is predicting a storm all over this here And Huck is going to lose a lot of his units. I'm not sure why Bones is retreating here. He probably could just go to town on everything with his Archons. He's got +3 on their attack, +3 shields. Huck is sitting here with 2-1-3, slightly different sort of path on the upgrades there, but they're, you know, it certainly will come into play. But falling back, a couple of Colossi added into the mix here. Huck's army, as I mentioned, the composition, it may be his downfall here, and now he has lost a lot of his supply, down to 135. He is going to be struggling to defend this position as Bones moves forward. The Colossi, the Tempest, the Archons at the front, all doing so much damage, and while Bones is, he's going to lose some at the front, he's going to take apart everything of Huck, and that is a GG. 42-minute game, really interesting PvP game there. Hope you guys have learned a little bit watching that game from, you know, just seeing what both of these players, what you can do in late game PvP and some of the various effects that choices can have later on in the game. Hope you all enjoyed it. Catch you all next time. Here, as you can see, 47 damage to Bio units and then the 34 damage against other standard targets. His storms have also been wonderful, just spreading them out across the battlefield, doing really nicely there. And for Minigun, he's been sticking with a much more